we say now can be edited.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I have, obviously, like it suddenly occurred to me when I realised, of course, that your Kickstarter is live now. That it
Yeah,
would
it's
be a good
now.
idea to have a chat and find out how it's going, and then sort of like put it on all the everywhere we can plaster it on the internet to make
Aw.
everyone aware that Crucible of Aether is out there. It's in its Kickstarter. So, in the best classic tradition, with absolutely no preparation whatsoever, Jackie, tell us about what it's like to finally have like a Kickstarter for this project of yours that you've been doing since year dot from what I can for so
Decade.
long. What's it
Yeah.
like?
Yeah, it's crazy, honestly. I mean, it's crazy, but at the same time, it is. I feel like it's the right time more than anything. I mean, well, look, I'm working on this game first as like a little passion project that you pick at every once in a while in your free time, and then it got realer and realer as I built a team, and then slowly a fan base. But like, it feels so. I don't know how to even describe it. It is surreal to see not just that it's out there and finally that it is a project that people can back and people can actually make real, but the fact that we have so many people already that are willing to do this is honestly humbling more than anything to take my what I thought was my weird esoteric crunchy RPG and realize that there's actually a lot of people that really like this game.
Hey, I mean, I'm a massive fan, as you know, of weird, crunchy, quirky RPGs. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of what you've done as well because it seems to me what I really liked when I found out about what you were doing was how much passion it seemed to me that you put into your game. That really came
Yeah.
through. The lore? Okay,
Mhm.
at first it was like, well, this whole new thing that we stumbled into, like as a bit of a
Yeah.
lore fiend, but it's so rich and detailed when you start to get into it that there's so much to appreciate that clearly you've developed over a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah. There is even more than what we have in the public facing.
I bet.
That's something that I'm really excited about is like, in the actual finished book, I mean, as you can probably imagine with any of these projects, we have chapters that aren't released yet, things like that. Like we kind of, took our best foot forward and showed that off to the public for playtesting. But in the back, we are polishing up, an entire, uh, uh, you know, well fleshed out timeline. Uh, Literally dozens of short stories that you can find in the book. Like it is lore of like all kinds of stuff. Because I wanted to give somebody my entire world when this game came out. That was sort
Mm.
of the mentality is I wanted somebody to get it. So there's entire chapters that you can read if you get really into it that are just dedicated to taking all the stories all over the place and just uh uh what's the word um just sharing them honestly more than anything, and I'm super excited about that.
And I guess that's like kind of the unusual thing about role playing games is as soon as you make them out there into the public domain, they're both yours and not yours anymore, right?
Yeah, I I always say the same thing, not just or about any tabletop RPG, which is that um, any any tabletop RPG with like a set world, right? When you're playing a game of it, even if it is your own game, you are writing a fan fiction. You're writing a fan fiction in that world. It is entirely just you give somebody the entire world and they're going to put their own spin on it. Maybe it's very purposeful, like they're going to change some stuff to fit their group, or it's just the tone of their squad. Like it's going to be different. And honestly, I think that's super magical. Like I love the idea of Crucible of Aether being played by just wildly different groups, having wildly different tones, and people tweaking the lore, expanding on the lore, even making hacks and writing their own stuff. Like I'm just excited about that stuff.
And I have to ask what it's like because you've now had more than one group like do APs. Obviously, you've been doing APs yourself, but then you've had us having a crack at our own crazy way of doing APs. And then I think there's at least one other group, if not maybe two, that I'm aware of have done their own APs. What's it
We've
like
had
seeing? Is it how? Yeah, tell me how many it really is. Fact check me.
we've had up to 6 at this point, which
6.
I'm
Yeah,
yeah.
more than
Yeah.
we need to make a playlist of all of those APs, right, and make it a
Oh, that's
community
lovely.
collaborative project together. So everyone who does an AP can put it into a playlist. That would be great to see. Because what I'm getting at is, what have you, if anything, what have you noticed about how different groups of players have taken out from your game that has maybe surprised you, or you haven't seen coming, or delights you?
So the thing that honestly delights me more than anything, right, is so we've had a handful of APs being played, and we've had basically the same 2 adventures, just because they are the most
Mm,
polished. They're the ones we send out there. There's been an exception to that rule, but we have this one shot that we've made, and then we have Ilgriff, which you've played.
yeah.
The sort of long. It's still a one shot, but it's longer form. And the thing that's absolutely delighted me is not just, as with any group, the tone being, wildly different with each people, some people taking it incredibly seriously and writing these very, very kind of dramatic stories, while other people have these really goofy bits that they do that are really fun. But the thing that I think has been so impressive is, due to the nature of how COA works and the fact that it is kind of a sandboxy kind of game,
Mm,
it has ended differently almost every single time. People have wrapped up the stories just from in incredibly noble ways, incredibly selfish ways, incredibly chaotic ways, incredibly messy ways, and it's just been so cool to see, like, sure, I'm handing, 3 4 groups incident on Ilgriff, but how that story is going to end is entirely up to them, and that's
mm.
so cool.
And that, I think that's one of the unique joys of role playing, isn't it? Is
Yeah.
is that all we do as creators and as GMs, who to my mind are just facilitators, is hand people places, backdrops, settings, events, tone, colour, and then watch them run riot in it to
Yeah.
some extent or other, and that's fabulous. And that's what's the joy of role playing, which differentiates it from acting, to my point of to my idea. Because of course there's elements of acting in role playing, but role playing is not acting. Role
No.
playing is obviously so much more than. I don't want to denigrate acting, because there's an awful lot of really good acting. It's so varied in role playing, because you've got improvisation is something that some people are better at than others, are more comfortable, including GMs, that hold people. But I think there's something about happenstance, the random things that happen outside of everybody's control,
Hmm.
afforded by dice or other factors that are taken out of the hands of a role playing game, that I guess can happen in other forms of theatre or media, but are much more likely to happen in role playing, because you have dice rolls and tables and random tables and things like that, these devices that will take and add in their own element that you, as a group, no matter whether you're GM, facilitator, however you DM, whatever, and players, you have no control over whatsoever. And that element is something I think really helps carves a niche into role playing that differentiates it from other forms of expressive media like acting or voice acting or whatever.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like, so you have improv and all that, but it role playing is just improv if the system itself was somebody that was also improving with you.
Yeah, yeah. But you don't just have to improv in role playing. It's like
True.
one thing you can do in it. And that's what I like about role playing, and what I like about having had a go now in a few sessions of Crucible of Aether, and we have more recorded sessions to do. We're very excited getting back into it now that the hurly-burly of Christmas and everything else is kind of fading back. Is just how, whilst being a crunchy simulationist game, and I mean crunchy in a good way here,
Hmm.
there is this, like you say, this wonderful sandbox aspect to it, but also just this unique opportunity, I think, in your game to take something like a Valthurian, which I got to play. So, of course, I can
Yeah, I
tell my
saw.
own experience. Yeah, and then wing it on the fly because my Valthurian started off more hawky and then ended up more flamingo as I started to
Lingo, yeah.
find something in the character. So they are kind of a synthesis of those two bird ancestries. And you
Yeah,
can
which
do that as you go along. It doesn't all have to be preordained. Or you can
yeah, and it's
really craft it in advance, whatever you prefer.
true. The one thing I wanted to actually commend you on was so we have kind of subcultures in the story of like specific kinds of birds, and you inspired us to be like, oh my God, we need to write more flamingo lore. Like
Yeah,
that was
please.
legitimately, I'm so excited for this because the opportunity for so many different kinds of birds showed up that people have played. I've seen people owls are something that I'm really excited to write about.
Mm,
Uh, uh, you know, and of course, the thing with as you now know, knowing the story, it's not like they're just owl people. They're not just this. Like, it's going to be interesting to take these little elements and write a more complex story of like what does it really mean to be culturally a flamingo. And I'm very
yeah.
excited about that.
Well, I'm glad to have, and I think that's another beautiful thing is that, like, you can produce all this lore in this environment, but, through play, more will emerge that you as a
Yeah.
creator get to look at and go, hey, wow, we didn't have that in the lore, and that's cool. And then you get back from people playing your game opportunities to build more of the world and explore parts that you hadn't come across, right?
Yeah. Which is, and that's, yeah, and it should never be me as a creator to try to keep up with everyone. Just let everyone's imagination free.
Yeah. So what's so the Kickstarter sounds like it's going fabulously well from what you were telling me, but can you
Yeah.
sketch out for us a little more about what it's up to and what that might lead to, and tell us a bit more about what the Kickstarter for Crucible and your company Living Metal, is that right? Living Metal Games.
Yeah, Living Metal Games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so obviously, we're getting really, really lucky here. I'm actually pulling it up. We are a little bit less than what is that? $700 away from our goal.
Woo.
We need just that much more. And if that happens, straight up, we get to work. We currently take that money that we needed, and we just get some additional art, and we pay for printing. Um, we get our editing together and our layout, which our editor and our layout person are all in-house. So that's not even part of the budget. It's entirely just hiring additional artists and getting the physical product out there. Yeah, and we just hunker down for the next couple months and we get that out there and we get it shipped. Um, we have actually some stretch goals, which this is now feeling more hopeful by the day.
Mm-hmm.
But if we make $8,000 instead of the 5.2K that we you know seem to our initial goal, we're actually going to we're going to create physical copies of the incident on Ilgriff,
Oh,
and
nice.
we'll probably commission some art for that. Art, yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe get some more pictures of what some of the individual characters look like. All of that stuff. Really, kind of, zhuzh it up before we get there. And if we make $12,000, we actually have a good friend of mine who is an award-winning tabletop creator, Jess Levine, who made I Have the High Ground and Going Rogue, two unbelievably fantastic games. A lot of them about tension building, or Going Rogue is sort of her take on Rogue One. It's really, really cool. But anyway, she's going to write a short story that takes place within the universe that's focusing on the Macrons, who are the angels of the industrial age, the inventor sort of half robot people. Um, and that'll actually be a PDF of that will be given out to everybody that backed us for free. Just that's going to
Oh,
happen, and then there'll
excellent.
be we'll get a nice cover, and we'll get yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get a nice cover and all that stuff for that. And then we have um two more big rewards, which are currently secret right now until we get them. But
Come on.
I think given our
Tease.
current setting, I'm gonna tell you because
Oh,
I you know they're hidden
exclusive.
on the Kickstarter, but yeah, which is if we make $1,600, we're going to make a browser-based character builder,
Oh,
so people can make. Yeah, I think that'll be really good for the game. And then at
great.
$20,000, we're getting virtual tabletop support.
Oh,
Yeah.
that all sounds far too juicy. Ah, gosh, that's really exciting. Thanks for sort of like sharing that with us. And exclusive. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty please, could I do a little flamingo art for you?
Yes, please.
Yeah, cool. Definitely. And of course, I mean, we've been so busy at Denizens. It's been so great collaborating with you all, and want to collaborate as much as we can to help sort of like support your Kickstarter. So I'll be boring everyone senseless. Everyone I meet on the streets is going to learn
Aw,
about Crucible of Aether, and
I really appreciate that.
ah, no, I mean it's an absolute sort of like pleasure to be able to wax lyrical about such a fun game to play that we've all really enjoyed. Those of us who've had the opportunity to play in our group have absolutely adored, and we're going to play some more of it and talk more
Aw.
about it with everyone we meet in our well, when we finally get it up and ready, because we have a role playing games club, an independent one opening up at the end of the month here in West Yorkshire
Oh,
in Keighley, and we're going to sort of we're already getting involved with UK distributors and warehousing, so we'll be able to hopefully get stocks in here in the UK, and work something out so that we can get UK wide and even European wide distribution sort of like going, so that Crucible Ether, you can't just keep it all over to yourselves over there in that glorious country, that massive country that you all forget about so
yeah. It's a
often.
lot. It's a lot of corn.
Yeah,
I think I told you I came to visit you guys recently. If the sun came out a little bit more, it would
it
just be.
does.
I would be there already. I'd be there already.
Well, then you need to do what we're trying to get everyone to do, is for everyone that we're working with, if possible, is meet up at one of the cons, because we're intending,
Yeah.
having done a little one in Manchester. There's another one of those, which is StabCon. If you've never heard of StabCon, check it out, Google it. Other search engines are available, but I believe like 90% of all searches are done on Google, so
Yeah.
that's hammered our chances of getting onto Yahoo, I guess. But there you go. But check out StabCon,
Sure.
StabCon. It's based in Stockport near Manchester. It's twice a year. It's just a gathering. A lot of people who like to roleplay in a beautiful guild hall. But then we're
Oh,
going to
that's
get to, by hook or by crook, MCDM and the game
oh, that's
cons around there in London. So surely we can work out a way of meeting in the real life, Jackie, at some point. I
I'm
think.
sure we will. I'm sure we will, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will have to figure out an entire sort of flamingo Valtherian cosplay to put together. So that would
That
be
would be
fun.
so good. We'll both show up in our best flamingo cosplay. I
Can you imagine? Oh my god! And then we can get Dash to be Adamant, the insectoid, and hopefully OG Craig can make an appearance in
Yeah.
his mouse form, and then my other half, Nick, can sort of like show up in her get up as well, and we can all just parade around as the entire troop. I don't think I've
Oh
missed
my
anyone
gosh.
out. If I have, I'm very sorry. I'm a
Oh,
bit
you are
frazzled.
okay.
I think that's all right. Yeah. So, I guess you must be exhilarated, but also quite exhausted.
Oh, I'm not ready to be exhausted yet. The Kickstarter has been up for an hour and 40 minutes. I'll be exhausted.
Are you just there
I'll be
hitting
exhausted tonight.
refresh?
Honestly, this interview has been fantastic because it's forcing me not to do that.
So you get a tiny bit of a break. I mean, before we sort of like sign off, because I'm on the promise of cheese and biscuits, and I'm a Britishman, English person. Give me some nice cheese and some nice biscuits, and I'm there. But is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you wanted to raise or let everyone know about Crucible of Aether and what you're doing in the Kickstarter?
I mean, you've already done so much. I would encourage anybody that's listening to this to one, check out the Crucible of Aether actual plays with Denizens. You guys are doing fantastic. I'm excited for episode 2 to come out. And yeah, I mean, just throw some links in the thing, and I think we're good.
Yep.
Cool.
Cut. Oh no, I have to do that. God. Cheers, Jackie.
I didn't, but